Yeah. Season 36. New game. GameDay is back. GameDay is back. Draft night settled, now the talk means less. Everybody put the lane, now the game's tested. Some moved up, some reset. Some got what they wanted, some got what they get. First Saturday hits different, everybody feeling nice. To the first misread turns into advice. Game of the week on the screen. Tim, Pat, Penguin, J-Hub. Breaking down the matchups, calling out contenders from the pretenders. Who can handle the moment, who just look good on paper. Season 36, NDL GameDay. Run it. GameDay back, new teams, new schemes, new paint on the whole thing. Mic check, lights bright. GameDay back. Roll the clips, call it games. GameDay starts now.
Going on, everybody? Saturday morning, NDL GameDay live here with Penguin, Pat, and Hubbard. Have weekend plans this weekend. Hubbard obviously heading into the school year, so trying to enjoy one last weekend before school starts. And then I think Pat is on the lake. With I think he said his girlfriend and his girlfriend's family. And then Phony, I think Phony just drank too much last night. I'm not sure. Phony might be popping in a little bit later today. Man, Penguin, how are you doing? I know you had a big game last night. We can talk about that in a little bit, but how are you doing today?
Back to farm stuff, but other than that, not bad. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm doing pretty good. We are heading into school starts next week for the kids and stuff on Monday. And we do so this weekend we got haircut. The boys got haircuts this afternoon. 4 of them have haircuts, and then we got just some yard stuff around the house. And then tomorrow, we bought a piece of lakefront property, and so tomorrow we're going out with the tractor and we're just kind of mowing it up, and we'll play in the water and stuff just for the day. And then, man, school starts. We got 2 kids are in football, 2 kids are in cross country, and then so we'll be pretty busy this fall. Fall's always pretty busy for us because 2 of the kids that run football, they also do cross country, and it runs at the same time. They do overlap, and so usually our weeks are spent at the football field, and then on the weekends is cross country meets. The high school cross country is a little bit different. We have 2 kids in high school cross country, and their meets are during the day, like during the week, and it's really weird down here in Louisiana. You think that they would have meets early in the morning for high school.
It gets brutally hot and humid.
They do not. They just have them after school, after school when it's hot and humid out, and
Right.
I mean, a lot of their meets are in places that are shaded. They'll go out to like the state parks and they have bike paths,
Okay.
like professional type bike paths.
Yeah.
And so they'll run on those. And so it is shaded, but it's still humid out and hot. And so it always I think I was talking to one of the members last night when we were playing some Warzone, and I was telling him that cross country is like a really boring sport to watch, but I have like this pretty good I feel prideful for them because you're all alone. I always thought sports where you're out there all alone are like the hardest sports, like mentally, right? Because like in football and basketball and baseball, it's like a team sport, right? So you have other people that can help you, encourage you, pick you up when you're down and stuff like that. But when you're talking about like sports like cross country, wrestling, right? I think wrestling's a big one of that. Like you're out there all alone, right? And so like when you fail or you aren't doing as good, like you really have to find ways, by yourself to kind of help motivate yourself. And those are always the tough, I always assume the tough sports.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess anytime I'm feeling some kind of way about our family schedule here between life, work, the property, the bookstores, and whatnot, I should ask for maybe you can share me a glimpse of the of your family calendar with, as I'm sure you've got one of some sorts with the events and everywhere you got to be, and I'll just be able to look back at mine and think like all this free time I have.
Yeah, it is weird because when the summer comes up, I'm always like, "Oh man, there's no more school. I'm so excited." But the summer is like a different busy for us. It's like the morning busy because the down here, I'm sure a lot of places are like this, but they're pretty um like it's pretty religious down here for the workouts during the summer for whatever sport you're in,
Mhm.
right? So like my boys are in, I have two boys, one's in eighth. Well, I have four boys, but two of them play football in middle school, eighth grade and seventh grade this year, and they work out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the mornings. And normally that workout is like, but they work out at different times because they're in different grades, and so they go and lift and work out, and then they do. One of them does 7-on-7 stuff afterwards, and so it's like all morning is just dropping them off and picking them up, dropping them off and picking them up, and shuttling them around. Where to the cross country runners, it's not quite like that, but and so you really like I go from my evenings being busy to the mornings are busy. Thankfully, my wife does some of that shuttling around and stuff too to help kind of alleviate that. And then now we'll have another driver this year. Aubrey's our
Mm.
one of our daughters is well, two of our daughters are left, and then now we have one that can drive, and so that's always a lot of help. Like to be able to do some of that after school shuttling and pick up and stuff. And so,
Oh, for
man, I'm
sure.
I'm excited though. Football about to begin. Right now, we're in training camp in the NFL, and we're like three
Yep.
weeks away from college football.
Mhm.
And I
And
think there's like a
the NFL Hall of Fame game was quality entertainment the other night.
yeah,
Could
yep,
actually watch a game and not have my soul wounded because I actually cared about the bad performance of either of the teams. So I was able to actually enjoy football. It was a very I've forgotten what that was like a little bit.
yeah. It was that game was interesting because when you saw it on the slate, you were like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be horrible." Right? Like this is going to be
Yeah.
bad football. And then you saw some of those videos circulating around the internet regarding the Cardinals, right? And like how bad they looked in training camp and stuff. But
Yep.
I mean, for the most part, the game was, I mean, it was very competitive. There was a lot of big plays. It wasn't as sloppy as they had made it look out and how you thought it would play out and stuff. And those rookie
Yeah.
quarterbacks played well. Haynes
Yeah.
and
You
Beck.
had to think some Miami fans are out there saying, "Where the hell was this Carson Beck's arm in the national championship game?"
Yeah, right. And it
Hmm.
was really bizarre how wide open. Like, I mean, it's early and stuff, and so how wide open some of those receivers were down the field. Though I would be a little worried if I'm a Panther fan.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I mean, there's definitely e- a good number of guys that saw a lot of burnout there that won't play any meaningful snaps in the league this year. But still, it was definitely for the game it was. That was one of the best preseason games I've ever seen any part of.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree with you. And obviously, I've been watching the Hard Knocks on TV. I've always enjoyed the show in general, but when your favorite team's on there, it makes it a lot more enjoyable. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
yeah, that's been fun. That started last week, and then again this week, and obviously they're getting a ton of exposure this year. Like when ESPN does their training camp check-ins and stuff like that, the Seahawks are always on there, which is nice. I guess that's what happens when you win the Super Bowl, and so obviously the expectations
Mm.
and stuff are a little bit higher, but it's always fun when a team that doesn't usually get a bunch of media attention is kind of all over the media. And this kind of beats the same, four teams that the NFL rotates around every year. It's kind of nice.
Only so many times you want to watch the train wreck is the Jets or the delusion that is the Cowboys. You got to see the rest of the league.
Yeah, and we got it looks like Rare Mile. I don't know, Rarest Mile. I don't know what league member that is in the NDL, but he's a Bengals fan. In the chat. And I see Rain in the chat.
Mhm.
Rain, obviously, a giant Browns fan. And so
Both gentlemen who obviously enjoy pain.
okay, that's Buckeye. So rarest miles Buckeye.
Yeah.
So that makes sense, Bengals, because Buckeye is obviously, how a Buckeyes fan too. So man, the Bengals are always an interesting team, right? You come in every year for the last 5 years, they come in and they have super high expectations. and they just.
I mean,
I think
you got some great
injuries and
players, but I
yeah,
mean, yeah.
can't stay healthy, and then you
Oh
got
no. So
MJ Kemp's out there in the chat. Yeah, big Cowboys fan, I
to be
guess.
fair, we can't be too hard on Cowboys fans that are young because they haven't lived through multiple decades and realizing how things really work, and that that if you really want to watch a Cowboys Super Bowl, then you're going to need this thing called a VCR and these cassettes that go in it. That's going to be the method you're going to have to use. So we'll have to have to find like a history show on this and hook Kemp up with that so he can relive those glory days.
Yeah, they obviously I have a lot of friends that are Cowboy fans, and one of my favorite parts about that whole thing is really like their demise is it like when their downfall really started when they lost that game to to the Seahawks. Remember when Tony Romo fumbles the field goal snap and tries to
Yes.
run it and gets
Hmm.
tackled, just short. And
But
if I'm not mistaken, they haven't made the playoffs since.
yeah, and I mean, Tony Romo displayed in that game the same footwork that he displayed for law enforcement recently as
Yes, he
well
did.
before they
He
gave
did.
they took him into custody.
Yeah, he did. There's some funny memes going around right now of him, like like because they use AI and he's like dancing and stuff during
Mhm.
the
Doing the Dak
roadside.
warm up
Yeah.
with
Oh
the
yeah, I
arm
saw that
and
one. The
stuff.
Dak
Yeah.
warm up. That was pretty good.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Rain. We talked about this a little bit last week. I don't know if you get if anyone had a chance to actually watch the real body cam footage of that entire interaction, and we talked about it on game day last weekend about how we see it constantly in the media when they really polarize these guys that get pulled over by cops and how they act
Mhm.
a lot of times, right? And how they interact with law enforcement. And for sure, when he first pulled over and said he wanted to call his lawyer, and he just kept repeating that on his phone, I thought it was going to be one of those
Oh,
horrible
this is
interactions,
just
right? Where he's
Tony.
like,
This is his playbook. It's if you watch him commentate games, he's really good at anticipating what the next play is going to be. And there, the
yeah,
officers pulled him over. He knew, okay, I'm going to need a lawyer. I'm screwed. He's just
yep.
staying, with his strength there.
Yeah, and I for sure thought it was going to be like, "Do you know who I am?" But it really wasn't. Like when you continue to watch that
Yeah.
interaction, it was really funny. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Obviously, getting pulled over and drinking and driving is not funny, but just that
Yeah.
interaction and stuff. He obviously it went a different way than I thought it was gonna. Um, anyways, yeah. So, well, and then Homie's in the chat too. I'm not really sure who Homie likes. I mean, he's an NC State fan, East Coast. I would say if I had to guess without looking at the chat, Homie is like a Panther fan or oh, look at that. There you go.
Yeah.
That was just a locational guess there. And so
Yeah.
obviously, yeah, we got a mixed
I
bag
think
of
there's a
fans
chance
right
it might
now.
be somewhere else because obviously, Holmes, I'm sure, been conscientious of football prior to the Panthers franchise existing. But yeah, it makes sense. At least that's a team that's had some high years, some moments,
Yeah, some
than
playoffs.
that. You know, till a certain Cam Newton decided that what, I'm not going after that football on the ground. I don't
Right, that would
care
be
how many
funny.
explanations people ever get. That's one of the worst football IQ moments I think I've ever seen.
Rain, we're gonna have to get Homie on the show and on camera just to see his funny goofy hat that he has made.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're a Cam Newton fan, you got to have a baller hat collection, right?
Yeah, Rain says he pictures Homie dressed up like Cam Newton.
Huge pile of dreadlocks. Tell head, that it's also good.
Yeah, they don't do that Wonderlic score anymore, Rain, right? I think that was once they realized how dumb some of those players were. But yeah, they basically were like,
Ooh,
"Hey, we can't do that." I think they said that the score was more of like a demographic type score.
Rain's right. We need an NDL Wonderlic. Perhaps that
I bet
needs to be
Homie
part
could
of the
come up with
farm,
something.
or better yet, we all take it together at
I think
next convention or get together in the future.
I think Homie needs to draw one up and then just make it a mandatory participation thing every year. And then at the end of the year, we
Ooh,
post the Wonderlic scores, right? So you don't know how dumb anyone is until the end of the year. You can speculate, right? To give us something to talk about all season. You can speculate how dumb some people are. And then, yeah, I mean, you could do it on the application too, um, but I think we'd probably want to do first is you'd probably want to test the whole league, so you'd have a standard, right? Because um, I
ooh.
think we'd probably be
I
surprised.
fear we'd lose a lot of us.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised if we put it on the application. We wouldn't know, like, hey, how do we compare this? Like, if you're in single digits, you're not NDL material. But then if we pull our whole league and 15% of us are in single digits, then we might, we might. Yeah, Texas says I'm out. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, so well, that's good. We've already talked about the Wonderlic test, the NDL Wonderlic that's coming, just to try to make people nervous, and then
Mhm.
yeah, we've talked about everything other than the NDL right now. I think that's Penguin's way of just avoiding talking about his recent week 1 and week 2 games in the NDL. And so I'll put you on the
Oh.
hot seat here, Penguin. Obviously, you didn't leave yourself, and we talked about this at the convention. You weren't shying away. You said you wanted to play all the tough coaches that you could out of conference, and you
Mhm.
went out and tried to do that. And so you didn't leave yourself any room for error in probably one of the tougher conferences in the NDL. And so, what's your outlook now for the season? What's your goal still? And then you can kind of talk about how weeks 1 and 2 went.
I mean, every game still matters. Even if there's only one left, I still gotta, there's no tanking or bail it in or whatnot. And there's a lot of football left and season to come. I got to get offense figured out. Uh, it's just, yeah, it's a lot of little things. There's just a bad football team at the moment. Whether it's, I definitely have made progress on my playbook and running game, but I mean, good lord, the putting the ball in the air, the timing's been bad. When I've had good timing, my guys are dropping it. Uh, I've asked too much of my offensive line a few times. I've missed a couple guys that are open. I mean, you could say in true NDL spirit, I'm really mixing it up in the ways that you can fail right now. So, I mean, I guess at least it's not just one thing that I can point to I'm terrible at. I'm just, giving a nice wide variety of stuff. But I mean, no regrets. If you're going to have a good team, you should be playing these type of games, and people who disagree, well, then you suck. But I mean, first game versus Notre Dame, uh, really good team. And going back and breaking that down, I don't think we played to our strengths nearly enough. And we had some bad luck, and they played well. You can't afford all three of those things to go against you. If you got to win at least one of those to be in a good position, and we didn't. And then last night, um, we played good defense for the most part, but I mean our offensive plan just did not come together. A few drops hurt us, but I mean I got to go back and watch that one a couple more times. I mean I think I know what we did wrong, but yeah, I just got to get some working, do some scrimmages over the weekend, play a couple CSFL games, and go from there.
I mean, you're obviously this LSU's schedule doesn't let up. Obviously, your blocks this week are Ole Miss and then Texas A&M at
Hmm.
home. Obviously, two quality teams, quality coaches with Lingus and all that finesse. And then obviously, then you get your bye week, and then you're playing a Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Auburn. If I had to say that any part and not take anything away from Tiger over there in Auburn, but and Texano at Mississippi State. But if you were to say that there's a stretch in your SEC conference that isn't as tough, I'd say that was probably it, right? Like 3 games that LSU is probably a favorite in, all 3 of those games. And then obviously you go to your back end stretch of your schedule. It's like Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, and then Arkansas is, I mean, Some maybe would say that now you're kind of in a spoiler role with 2 losses already. Obviously, you could still go undefeated in the SEC. You could still play in the SEC championship game. That would probably be a ticket into the playoff. But you don't leave yourself for any room, and so now you're kind of, some would say maybe, Penguins in the spoiler role. Um, what is your win
Just
goal
got
at
it.
LSU?
I think it's like 8 technically.
8? Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I just gotta just look at it small. Just worry about. I mean, that literal old trope of just gotta look at it a game at a time. Literally a play at a time. I can't worry about that. Because I mean, the ultimate goal is to get this new game figured out and how to just be more consistent on offense. It's not even such a big goal as worrying about, am I going to be able to keep this team or whatnot.
Mhm.
Because ultimately, if I finish the season 6-6 and lose LSU, but by the end of the season I've got the offense locked in. Okay, it wasn't a great season, but I can at least set myself up to, you know, enjoy the rest of the game cycle. So,
Yep. And we look at LSU here. Obviously, the new polls are out. I can bring those up here on the screen. We can kind of talk about those. Is obviously you
mhm,
see LSU fall down to 23rd. That's probably a mixed bag of people maybe watched the game last night, right? The game was played last night against Indiana. Watched
mhm,
that game. And then obviously your week 1 game. And so you're sitting down there at 23rd in the coaches poll. And then you're as high as 17 in the media poll. We're still working on the media poll. Homie's looking at it right now because it seems to be polling in only a small majority of, a small fraction of the media members. And so it's probably not a very good sample size. I definitely voted prior to your game. I voted yesterday morning. And
mhm.
so, yeah, just kind of go over the
A
rankings. What
justifiable,
surprises you? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, say it's a justifiable spot to find myself in there, and I'm sure I won't be in the next one at all, and that's well deserved. You start the season off 0-2, don't care where you are, you most likely should not be in the following poll. So, but I mean, at a glance here, uh, I I think this poll is overall way worse as far as integrity and intelligence as composed to the preseason poll. Honestly, because I look here, I know for example, Texas hasn't played a game yet. Yes, and I'm normally someone who's like, yeah, that's a big deal. But I really wouldn't be worrying about that till the following poll. And to have the dude who's consistently been at the top, the defending championship, is 5th in the coaches poll. What the hell are we doing,
And he has
guys?
2
No.
buys. So his week 1 and week
Yeah.
2 opponents are buys. So there's no control over that either.
Yeah. Yeah. So people, pull your heads out of your butts. That's just insane. This is not a reflection on any of the teams in front of him, but to not have him at 1 or 2 is just lunacy. But so I can't shade Ohio State being at 1, 2-0, good start to the season. Uh, Oregon at 2 in the coaches, 5 in the media. It's pretty good. They took care. They beat a tough user, maybe not a tough team in Boston College, but still that is a good win for sure. And Georgia CJG put on a clinic versus the talented Miami team. I'm frankly surprised they're not a little higher than they are in the polls at 3 and 4. And then Alabama, of course, looked well. They belong up there. Texas Tech, Notre Dame. So your top 7 as a whole makes sense. But then we dropped down after that. Granted, when did the had the polls already opened when Georgia and Miami played? I don't think they had they?
I don't know. No, I don't think they did.
Okay. So how the hell is Miami ninth in the media poll? Who wasn't watching games? Because I mean, sure, they're just 1-1, but there's no way that they should still be sniffing the top 10 after getting boat raced like that. Sorry, just is. And then, but I mean, as I go down from there, I like to see that a number in the coaches poll, at least, of 2-0 teams got some early love. Auburn, Colorado, California, Florida, all teams I think definitely deserve to see some rankings. I'm a little surprised to see UConn make an appearance this early in the season. I know Rico has, reputation of having some strong double-digit win seasons and showed up near the end, but I don't recall seeing him up there this early. But
Y- y- Yeah,
the one,
that was probably my biggest thing, like seeing the back end here, because that was going to be my question. We see, I think there's three mid majors in the polls, or an independent UConn. I'd consider it as a mid major school. We got Central Michigan 18, UConn
Mhm,
24, and then Liberty at 25. When you look at the body of work, like remember, take the coach out and look at the body of work. They've all played 2 games. Um,
mhm,
is Dave has played, and homie's in the chat here, so not trying to offend him too much, but he's played Maryland, U.S. Marine, and NC State, right? Who NC State obviously is a couple seasons removed from making the playoffs, but it's kind of been a downhill ride since then. To where I think that there was some better mid-major teams that had put together maybe a little bit better body of work so far, but obviously this is really early, and you're really just kind of figuring
mhm.
things out at 2-0. But I'm with you. I thought that you could have probably picked if you're going to pick a mid major at the end of the poll. I know San Diego State was close. I think they were like 28. Is that
Mhm.
I'd probably put them maybe ahead of UConn.
You could make a similar case, probably, I guess, for UConn, Central Michigan, and Liberty, because they both. So Central Michigan beats, two P4 schools. Liberty beat one, and then as you said, UConn's beaten two. So it's not like they've just entirely smacked scrubs. So I really can't fault that too much, but I definitely am surprised to see Liberty the lowest of the three.
I'm in the matrix. That's how the matrix is how you can see how coaches vote. I'm probably horrible on here. So
Mhm.
homie, since he's in the crowd here, he can kind of help us here. So when it says difference on the far left side, it says difference like 59, 62. Is that the lower the difference is the better that the calculation is saying that you voted compared to the rest of the league? Or is that what that means? Hopefully he can let us know in the chat if he's still listening. He's probably putting his hat
That
on it.
means the closer your poll is in line with how the league voted on average,
Yeah,
maybe?
that's what I'm assuming. Because if that's true, this week, for weeks, and then this might be overall. So this will be from I think the start of the year. No, it's just for
That
this
that
last block. It
number
shows Chop. Chop as being the
mhm,
closest, and then it shows Dealer the closest. But again, Chop
that
has
would make
Texas
sense
at
because
four,
yeah.
and then Dealer has Texas
You
at
look all the way at the
3.
bottom and see how far off that last poll is from the league averages. That definitely seems to line I mean, I'm not gonna bother saying the user's name because you all know probably who it is, but
I like it though,
we've
Gary.
got
No, let's do it, man.
Nebraska at 2,
Let's do
South
it.
Carolina
D-
is it
Gary
Gary? I
Gary
believe in the
voted
league.
Georgia
Yeah.
1, which I don't have a
Nebraska
problem
at
with that.
2,
Georgia looks good, but
South
he's
Carolina.
got Nebraska at 2, South Carolina at 3, which would put him up 49 spots with how the league voted. Louisville at 4, Florida State. Did he just go by mascots? Like, what is the coolest mascot? Because he's got the corn, the cock, the bird, the Seminole, the lion. He's got Duke in the top 10. He's got he's got what, the Pirates in the top 10, Colorado in the top 10. He's got to be voting coaches. I bet if we pulled up those coaches, those are all people that he knows and that he likes. That's the only way that I can think about that.
I mean,
Um,
it's better that people vote than not vote, and I love the new method here, but I mean,
then you got a couple new guys, which is
yeah.
kind of understandable because they probably don't know anything about which that's kind of actually when you think about it, that's kind of a can be a good thing, right? So these new guys like off that 8 and Fisher, he's my nephew. Those guys don't have any clue about the history of the NDL. They don't have any
Mhm.
clue about last season, the season before, who's won it. And so I'm going to go out on a limb and say that his poll is strictly based upon wins and losses. He doesn't even they don't even have Texas in here, and I promise you it's because they haven't played any games. Oh, it looks like all their
Florida
teams that
State
they
shouldn't
have.
be in the top 10 because they're 1-1. I mean, so I can't even go with that purely as a
Well, but if you took it
logic.
Fisher and off that 8, none of them have Florida State in the top 10.
Yeah.
They have all. It looks like all their teams are the undefeated teams that have 2 games played, and so I mean that's not. I'll take that logic over some of the
Mm.
other logic that you see here. Obviously, Dak looks like he may be voting a couple friends up top, and then you got just some other new guys and stuff at the bottom, and then there's Ank down there. Where's Pat when you need him, right? So these are
Yeah.
interesting. Obviously, some of this stuff shakes out. I know that a lot of people don't put a lot of weight on the first couple blocks of polls just because we don't have a very large sample size in general.
I
Yeah,
mean,
Texanol
I
says, "How
get
does
teams
Missouri?" Go ahead.
fall out with a okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, it's about what he's saying is a valid question, but I mean, yeah, you can understand a team being 2-0 getting love and a team that hasn't played any games not getting love. I can understand that logic, but I mean, if that's all we were talking about, I mean, like, okay, it is whatever. But I mean, good lord, it's oh, yeah. I, I I don't know how to accurately display my feelings about it without delving into straight up slander and insults on other people and their intelligence and conduct and integrity. But I mean, that's just me. I've got a big mouth and I sometimes put my feet in it.
Yeah, Texanol says, "How does Missouri fall out of the top 25 with a win, and you get teams above him with 0 games played?" Yeah, no, and that's the thing is, that I think yeah, I saw that, Rain, where I'm at 45, which is completely fine because I'll probably finish lower than that this season. Um, they with the poll, it is there's obviously a lot of information that one can utilize for the poll. Um, I
Mhm.
did make a suggestion to Homie. It would be nice if I could, instead of having to, someone posted the link, which was nice. And so I had to pull up 2 browsers just to see who I voted last week, and then I put all those teams in there, and then I started eliminating teams from last week. But
Mhm.
it'd be nice in the same window. He has a great. I don't know if you guys look. There's a window where you can sort things, winning percentage, points, strength of schedule. You can sort all that stuff. If you could sort it by my poll last week, or if it gave you a chance just to auto load your previous poll in there, and then you could shuffle it around. And I get maybe part of the reasoning not doing the auto populate was that it would force people to not just do the same poll every week to get credit for it, right? You got to put a little bit of at least some work
Yeah.
into doing it. Um, and so yeah, it was Wilds, Rain. Yeah, Wilds is the one that figured out the links and stuff that could get us to our previous polls and stuff. But man, there's just so much information on the website now. It's amazing to think about how far we've come from the polls previously. And I don't know if back in the day, if you had accessibility, or even if people even looked to see if we could see who people were voting for, and maybe the admin could see that. But obviously now being able to just put people straight on blast is a little bit of an accountability level, right? Like,
Yeah,
um,
for sure.
but and then we'll hop over to the media poll really quick. Um, obviously we're only it's only pulling like 10 members from the media poll, and so that we're working on that. But you can see that there's a little bit I think up at the top, maybe there's a little bit more thought into it with like Texas being up there. It looks like Matt didn't vote Texas at all, and that may have been a games played. I mean, he did vote him. He put him all the way back at 17. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I know Matt well enough to know that he probably saw him with no games played, but didn't go check to see that he has 2 buys, right? And obviously that is a big difference when you don't like it's different if there's 2 opponents sitting out there and you haven't played, but if there's 2 buys, there's no opportunity for that. So yeah, sorry about that, homie. I did it on my own screen and not on your guys' screen. So I'll throw up the media poll so you guys can see it. And so obviously you can see in the media poll there's not anything crazy different like you talked about Penguin. There was a couple teams on that back end that you thought maybe shouldn't have been in there. But if you actually look, at the numbers, like Rain had mentioned, the numbers in there, you'll see a plus green mark and a minus red mark. That's going to be where the
Uh-huh.
league average has put that team, right? So let's say I'll just go randomly take Pat's poll and you go out to Clemson at 13, it says -2. That means that he's 2 spots that everyone else has Clemson in the league on average. I think this would be the media poll. I'm going to guess that it's going against the media poll. It has, Clemson at an average of 11. So, but if we do the coaches poll, it's going to do it against the coaches poll. So like Matt put Nebraska in here at 13, basically nobody else has Nebraska ranked. You can see that. And so it gives them like a plus 15. So I do appreciate Tuddy voting Washington State in the media poll. I really appreciate that. So
No, I really like the feature. Yeah, you said breaking down, showing the difference on the polls, get an idea. So that'll definitely be some good fuel for conversation as we get later in the season. Because I mean, I'm trying to keep my getting unhinged about it at a 5 right now. I'll get to an 11 later in the season once we get people doing truly insane things when we're talking actual playoff positioning, because it will happen. Market, we both know it, but it will give me some real data to back up the insanity that is sure to take place and raise my blood pressure.
there we go. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I always enjoy the polls. I don't get as worked up, obviously, as you and some other members in the polls. I do get pretty worked up with the CFP brackets that come out because I do believe the polls. I'm okay with a little less thought into it as long as you're doing them,
Mhm.
and basically because it just gives us something to talk about on here, right? And then now, obviously, with us being able to see who votes for who, it even makes it a little bit more fun to be able to talk
Mhm.
about those different things on the show. Just kind of
I
keeping up
know
with the
I'm a little
chat.
extreme with how much it matters to me, but I mean that's just kind of the way I'm wired. I'm a numbers dude, and that's that's the stuff that matters to me. So I'm going to be impassioned about it. It's just the way things are.
It will be kind of interesting to get a whole season of this sample size to see, because in the past you could just take your poll and just continue to vote the same poll every time. Um,
Mhm.
and then now you can do that. It just takes a little bit more work, and so it'll be interesting to see if some of these people put a little bit more thought into the poll. I don't mind the preseason poll where you're voting friends and stuff like that, because not enough. I've always said on the show, not enough people do that for it to matter, right? We get a big enough sample size that we get a pretty good general idea, because it's been brought up before is that the polls do matter in a sense to the league of you do get bonus points, right? If Kansas State is or Pitt sitting at 20 in the coaches poll and I'm Kansas State and I play
Mhm.
Pitt and I beat them, I get points, right? Because they're a ranked opponent. But for
You
the
you
most
you uh
part,
you pulled a thread though. They're talking about people saying things doesn't matter and voting friends or whatnot. That absolutely leaked into the committee last year, did it not? I
yeah.
mean, shoot, we had that conversation at the end there. That that's that's when my brain gets broken there. I'm not gonna hijack that and go on that tangent too much. But I mean, yeah, if someone's doing that now in these polls, okay, fine. I'm just being a nitpicking asshole. But that shows up when we're actually, you know, putting more work into it and actually deciding things that affect people's standings and rankings and whatnot. Then I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, uh, all right. I'm
Yeah.
gonna stop. I'm gonna stop because yeah, I've gone far enough on that.
No, but I mean it does it does the polls do carry some weight and they do matter. The nice part is we do get a big enough sample size to where like when you do see like you see I'll use Dave at UConn, and it's because I'm looking at the media poll still here. He's sitting at
Hmm.
like 22 in the media poll and he was like 24 in the coaches poll, right? And so but there's a pretty good sample size of people voting Dave in there, And our other teams probably have a little bit better resume. Yeah. But Dave has obviously put together enough good seasons with UConn to say that, hey, that's
Mhm.
a quality win, right? If you're mid
Yeah.
major or anyone, that's a quality win. And so I think at the end of the day, if you probably went back in time and looked at all the goofy polls that people do, I bet they very rarely changed much to where it's really going to flip someone's season success, right? Like it's you get for the most part, right? Like
Mhm.
it would take like all the mid-major conferences get in collusion together and vote all of their own teams into the polls so that you would actually start seeing like a change in season success points, right? Like could you imagine that? Like you're in the Mountain West and every
Well, I
single
mean,
one of your
you've given them the
opponents
idea now,
rank.
so who knows what happens?
Like
Pe-
I'm
Like
gonna
Pat's ears are burning right now. He's like,
yeah,
no.
Texanol's in here, and so we'll get him on the Pac-12. He's the Pac-12 commissioner, and he can go in and start. I'm doing that, just for the week one poll, just get all the mid majors voted, so that it says then they get waxed in the first round of the CFP. Yeah, I don't know that it would carry much weight if you went all the way to the CFP. I'd hope that the CFP members wouldn't be easily influenced into thinking that they would need to do that. So,
I guess it all depends on who's in on it.
yeah, right. Man, so the other day I was talking to someone. I was playing games with someone in the NDL, and we're just talking about the college football playoff, um, in when that would change again. Because it's inevitably going to change again at some point. And I was like, man,
Yeah.
can you imagine being on the committee and having to pick 32 NDL teams? It- Like, I mean,
I
we
mean,
heard it last year, right? Is that you brought it up a little bit? Penguin last
yeah.
year is basically the message that we got on game day was that they were already there for like 2 hours doing the top
Yeah.
12, finding the top 12 teams that needed to be in the CFP. That some of the members kind of just, it was so long of a meeting that some of the members kind of just were like, hey, you guys just pick the rest of the teams. Could you imagine if there's 32 teams? I couldn't imagine that meeting would be like 6 hours long or longer. I just,
Yeah. I
yeah,
guess
yeah,
there
Rain,
does come to a point
I
where
know that,
we
Rain.
want
Yep.
to emulate the real world, but we've got to make some changes. We can't do it. It's not going to be a one for one shot remake of how they really do it in real life.
Well, like
We got to take some things into the only way we want to do it.
Rain said, they do. I know, and they got on here and kind of explained the process last year. There's a lot of pre-work stuff that goes into it. And I know they tried something new last year with bracketing the teams to kind of mimic real life. And I
Which
mean,
I hate with a passion.
I don't mind the bracket of the teams because it does limit the conversations. But if you're going to bracket the teams and you're going to mimic real life, we have to bracket it the same as real life. Because if you squeeze the bracket too tight, like which was happened
Mhm.
last year. And we had a member on here saying that they didn't like it squeezed because it did limit the ability to talk about the bubble teams in those squeeze brackets. And so if they are going to take 6 teams, I think that's what the real life does is they take 6 teams and they compare only those 6 teams with each other. And then
Mhm.
then any team that gets eliminated out of that goes into that very next bracket. But if you squeeze it down to 4, that's a big difference, definitely in league, and that's what we saw with Old Miss last year. And so, I know they do a lot of work, and they definitely. I mean, you talk about people that aren't compensated enough would probably be our CFP members, right? Just because of the amount of time that they put into that CFP, and I love that they rank 25 now as opposed to just 12 or 15. But I just couldn't imagine them in a meeting. You could put it in as much pre-work as you wanted. And 32 teams would be absolutely crazy. Like I just couldn't imagine
Yeah.
that type of meeting. You may even have to break it down to 2 meetings a week or something like that. But I know if when they go to 32 teams, there'll be a lot more structure. I wouldn't doubt that if they went to a 32 team, like the FCS does that, is that every conference would probably have a team in the tournament. And so a lot of that work would probably already be done for you, right? You're looking at, I bet, 15 to 20 of those spots are going to be eaten up already by automatic bids between the conferences and probably different types of rankings and stuff like that, and then you're just picking your at-large bids. But Interesting. Anyways, that would be probably several seasons, maybe even the next a couple video games away from that happening here. So,
Great. Who knows? Maybe with the way my season's going, I'll get asked to be on the committee this year. Wouldn't that be interesting?
yeah, I thought about it, but I'm definitely I thought how much fun it would be to just be on the committee, to be able to talk NDL and listen to some other, minds and stuff. And there's lots of people on the committee that you wouldn't even think would be on the committee. They're not super active people in the chat per se, but they are watching. They're active
Yeah.
in their conference chats, right? And stuff like that. And so that would be fun. But I just think I'm way too loud of a person. Not just in person, everyone knows that, but just in general, to where I just think that it may not be a positive influence in the CFP, right? Is that I'm just a little too loud and opinionated to probably go into the room and try to listen to other people. And that's just me knowing who I am. So it would be fun though.
Don't know.
I think it would be fun. We've obviously have a couple of the NDL Game Day guys have been on the committee before.
I wouldn't mind being on it with you. I would find that very interesting.
Yeah, it would be because we obviously do disagree on things, and so that would be interesting to be on there. We'd be able to give just give the live update every week on how the committee's going. It'd probably taint the whole process. No, but
Have to
six
compartmentalize our brains and keep it separate somehow.
Yeah, and six does do a great job with the committee, and obviously the committee's evolving, right? Is so like in real life, obviously those people are dedicated to college football. Most of the people on the real life committee are either present athletic directors at universities, former athletic directors, but most of them, when you go look at the committee thing, they're actively involved in college football. In some type of capacity and stuff. And when you take a look at our CFP that tries to mimic them, these guys have full-time jobs outside of the NDL that are not related to the NDL. And then obviously it's all volunteer work, and it's a lot harder for us to watch NDL games than it would be like a college football game, right? Like, because on Saturday you can watch 10 to 15 games at once. In the NDL it's not like that. And so there is a lot of difference between real life, and obviously six has been evolving our committee, which is amazing for all you new members that don't really know what we're talking about, because I do see some new people out there in the chat. Is the NDL has their own CFP committee, college football playoff committee, and it's they're volunteers. Basically they just reach out to their conference commissioner, and they've got to be teams that wouldn't be eligible come the end of the year, and you basically just let your commissioner know that you want to be on the committee. And it's a large sample size of members in the NDL, and they meet once a week. And I think it starts like week 8 maybe. And they start meeting once a week, and they put together their top 25. And then obviously at the end of the year, we utilize that top 25 to put together our playoff field. And so, Homie brings up a great point on the website. I was messing around with this yesterday, actually. Is from the front page of the website, if you scroll all the way down, you can actually see media content right there. And the media content's not just our shows; it's games links that people have posted to their videos on YouTube, Twitch. You can tag your game on the video, and it'll show up there. And I noticed when I went to look at your page in LSU Penguin is that you can actually link highlights and stuff to your game, and it'll show down there as film. And so, like, when I go to your score and stuff and I click on the preview, it'll show that. So,
yeah, there are some awesome features. I still got to figure out exactly how you're supposed to do it so that you title like your video and it automatically grabs it. I can't seem to get that to work. So I keep having to enter it on the website. I'm doing something wrong. I don't know what yet, but
yeah, I usually just go down and click stream now and then just type in whatever I need to type in to get it to work.
Yep.
But it has been fun to be able to watch some NDL games during the week. What are some of the big shocking or maybe surprises that you see so far early in the season right now with 2 games played?
Well, surprises. I don't think I'm shocked to see Georgia beat Miami. I am definitely surprised of how one-sided it was. because we all know, Jumper in Miami is, I mean, he's an offensive guru for sure. And but still, you expected that game to be more of a battle than it was. And then other one, the one matchup of two great coaches. Uh, I was surprised to see after the slow start in some games I'd seen with the legend that is the Doctor Coach Chip of Central Michigan go and beat Boston College by multiple scores. Now, I mean, we all know Chip's good, but I mean, Roke is a stud as well. So to see him getting maximizing that talent, and I mean, I think we've talked about it last week, maybe even that Central Michigan roster wasn't world beaters in last game. They were way better than that overall roster is now in this game. And the fact that he's out there able to coax 34 points out of that team, that would probably take me 4 games to get 34 points with the way I'm playing right now out of them. And to do it against a great user like Boston College has in Roke, and then I mean, shoot, his win over Northwestern. Big Brian is not a bad coach by any means as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, mine
So
too.
there's some people who say may not be
Go.
surprised, but still 2-0
Yep.
for Central Michigan right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's been his thing, right? Is if he gives himself maybe a little more wiggle room getting out of that out of conference scheduling if he can get out of there with no losses, right? In the past,
Hmm.
he's kind of split it 1-1, 2-1. He loses that game, and it's always normally against a bigger. It's against a Power Four school, and so if he can get out of that with no losses and into conference play, obviously he's going to be a favorite to be a top 12 team. Probably, I would assume. Um, coming down the stretch, he may not even if Chip runs the table, um, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the top 10 at the end of the year. Right. I just wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised.
I
And
mean,
a big part of that is going to be because some of these conference teams are going to beat each other up. And so,
yeah. I mean, he might have, I'm sure, because he's got a handful of names on that schedule remaining of guys that I'm not familiar with because they're new. And no doubt that there's a good chance there's at least one or two studs in there. But I mean, as far as talent goes, there's there, there's nobody that's got him outmatched the rest of the way.
yep.
So this be the season that Chip returns to the playoffs? It really could be.
Yeah. And I have 3 surprises this year. Okay. And one of them isn't a surprise for the team necessarily. But I'm going to go with Sammy at Colorado. Okay. And
Mm,
the big surprise for me is that Sammy's a great player, right? He's kind of been up and down. He plays. So IROC is like his best friend in real life too. Okay, and they play each other every year. And I always say these games can kind of set the tone for your season, like how your season goes, right? And he beat Boise. Now the game was at home, it was at Colorado, but he beat Iroca in Boise, which is telling to me because Iroca loves to run the ball, and the game is really geared up to run the ball this year, right? And so I'm putting a little bit of weight on Sammy, make him some noise in the conference there. He obviously beat Bear Ass and at Tech, right? Louisiana Tech, and the game wasn't close. He blew him out. But I think that Boise win was big. It sets a tone. It also knocks Iroca kind of off, right? We're trying to look
mhm.
for that other mid major, maybe 2, and I really think he kind of sets that up. And so I think I think that's a big win. And so I'm kind of because if Boise wins that game, he's probably one of the teams I talk about, right? Because he beats Colorado, he beats Sammy. But I think Sammy's going to ride some momentum. I could see Sammy making some noise out there in the conference. And then one of the other ones is obviously we talked about this game happened last night, but CG at Indiana. Indiana is an interesting team. We've talked about it before, right? Is that for the last couple seasons in the NDL, they've been a very highly rated team that hasn't had a ton of success. Okay. And that's because some of the rated players are in positions that don't matter. I think in this game it does. Man to man defense, the way defense plays, how you can really make teams suffer with mistakes on the defensive side of the ball now, with the way the game plays and how the game is more tailored
Mhm.
towards ball control and offense. He obviously has a wonderful game against LSU, right? Basically shuts down LSU's offense, allows less than 250 yards of offense. And then he plays Arkansas and Malin, who's a good coach, and beats him 41-6, right? Talk about a big start for Indiana, though, because he's got Hawaii and Northwestern, and then Rutgers, and then Nebraska, right? All going to be favorites in those games. The Hawaii and Northwestern game, I bet he's a heavy favorite in those games. Okay, CG's going to
He's
be
got one game left where he's
100%.
not going to literally be able to overwhelm the other team
You go
potentially.
look at the rest of his schedule right now, and projected wise, he's projected to win every game but one of them, and that's against Ohio State. Right?
Yep.
He's good. I mean, he gave himself room for error now. With this out of conference schedule beating the LSU, obviously is a big game for him. And just keep rubbing that in. And then the third team,
We'll see how that ages.
The third team I'm going to pick here is going to be Coach Dealer, not Coach Dealer, Coach Big Z out at San Diego State. And the reason being is he's always been in the running for his conference championship. The problem he's had is his out of conference schedule. He always has went and scheduled teams that are rated higher than him and better. He plays Dealer every year. Okay. And normally Dealers, I think when Dealer was at Miami, they were playing. Well, he beats Duke, Dealer and Duke, right? Then he goes and beats Wyoming. He's 2-0. He has a game of the week against New Mexico this week. If you go down and look at his schedule right now, he's the favorite to win the pack right now, right? And if he's managed his out of conference schedule, he's one of my, hey, don't sleep on Big Z. And I know it's not sleeping on him, right? He's right there being ranked in that top 25. He's like the 28th team. But man, circle the wagons here all the way back he plays Boise State week 12, and then he plays Michigan and Coach Bierkop week 14. And so those will all be, those are pretty big wins. That Duke win's a big one, right? Coach Dealer's good, and he goes out there to Duke and beats an ACC team. That's a big win.
Circling that UConn game as well.
Yep, yeah, and he goes out and plays Dave, right? That could be a huge game for Dave as well. If you're Dave, you're obviously cheering for San Diego State to win, right? Could Dave be what I don't consider Notre Dame independent, even though they are, but obviously Dave is in that outside always looking in because he doesn't have that conference championship game as a mid-major team, which I think is really always going to probably keep you out of the playoff when you're talking about a mid-major team. Even if he runs the table, you're still going to compare that with a mid-major team or another at-large team. But obviously no short of good games if San Diego State was to win out in that UConn game. Could be big. But those are my three big teams so far. Obviously, do you have anybody that's besides LSU that's a giant letdown so far?
Letdown. Give me 60 seconds to answer that question.
I mean, it's a pretty small sample size already, but
it is. Yeah, I'm just seeing if anything stands out because I've definitely been more focused on who's kind of surprised me in a positive aspect to this point. I mean, I definitely feel that conversation starts with me for sure. So it's a little hard to know where you bring up from there. I mean, here, I'll throw some shade here. Kentucky, you add a new owner there who looks good and then is a complete fool and doesn't pay attention and gets his ass kicked. So that definitely belongs in the conversation. Just a note to all new coaches, don't be an idiot. If you got skills, great. We love you. We want you for our league. Don't be a fool. Pay attention to the rules. It's pretty simple. But
don't win by more than 35.
It's not hard. It's not hard to do at all. Just pay attention. The one I'm going to put in a similar situation to myself, they played two very good teams. So they shouldn't be ashamed they lost these games. But at the same time, you definitely, I think, had the expectation you should have won one of them. And that's going to be Texas A&M. They lost to Ohio State and then they lost to BYU. Both very good teams. But just like us, they actually played both these games at home. They have a good home field advantage. and they didn't get it done. So we'll have coming up in week 4, I guess, the shit show bowl for one of us that losing that game, that the AD will undoubtedly be bringing us moving boxes to just go ahead and get ready.
Yeah, that was the first team that I was going to say as well. Man, and my biggest reason is I loved his energy and stuff last season, but he wanted all that smoke, right? Like
Hmm.
he
Yeah.
was all talking when that CFP came out. The definitely last couple things about how high he should have been and everything, and so he went out and scheduled tough, no joke, right? Goes out and plays chop at BYU,
Yep.
plays D Kennedy at Ohio State, loses
100% respect
14-17.
that. Yep.
Yep, great game against BYU, and then obviously, as most teams find out, playing D Kennedy and Ohio State is D Kennedy controlled that game. I did not watch that game, so don't know how the flow of the game was or anything. But obviously, the final score 38-10, and so
It
obviously
was
that's
one
probably
sided. Yeah.
a disappointing start, right, for him. But next up, he has
Hmm.
Kentucky and LSU, and so obviously you guys are in the same boat. Is like you're just trying to win in advance, right? You guys are kind of down to that same type of scenario as you can't really lose any more games when you're talking about a full comparison of
It's
probably
definitely one of those
potentially.
games that it's a must win for both of us, for
Yep.
sure. You could
Yeah,
say.
and you face two of those next block because I think Lingus is kind of starting out in that same boat, right? Like he goes out, he wanted all that smoke, scheduled Marion, lost to
If
Marion pretty convincingly.
he, he
Um,
he's on the verge. If we are able to get that win, we basically switch places, where
yep.
I'm like, okay, maybe we can get the ship righted and he's in trouble. Whereas if he beats me, I mean, then I feel like he's on a solid trajectory. It's not the biggest win in the world, but it definitely, all his goals are still in front of him.
Yep.
So we'll see. I've already checked out the Kennesaw State uniform combinations. They're pretty solid. So I mean,
Who's the
watch.
Kennesaw
See,
Owls this year? Who's the coach this year?
I don't even know, but watch them fall in love with that team and
Yeah, I was
keep
gonna
them.
say watch them dynasty them, and then
And that happens, then I'll be like, I don't know what I'll do. I guess I'll figure something out. But I mean, that type of luck would fall in line with how things have gone. It's shady nasty. He's 0-2, so perhaps that's not such a realistic fear of him keeping them. But I mean, who knows? He runs off a streak of 10 straight wins now, and I'm sitting on the outside looking in, and Kennesaw State turns out to be world beaters in the real life, and they get a massive in-season boost, and their quarterback is in the Heisman conversation. And I'm sitting here looking like an asshole. So I mean, these are all things that could happen. Who knows?
so we go and we don't have Hubbard here today to do our sharp take, so I'm just gonna throw the sharp board up here. This is the live feed, so you're obviously just looking at the live feed of my sharp account. And so, what are some of these games? If you go through here, you guys in the audience can also interject here. I'll make some bets. And so, what are some of these games where you're kind of riding them in? This Oregon USC a 25 point. I almost want to take USC within 25. I think USC is going to lose the game, but man, 25 points is a lot. Definitely in the NDL. And then like you have like the Steam playing K Dog down here at 32 points, right? Like that's Steam's a veteran in the league, and any veteran will tell you. Penguin just brought it up, right? Our 35-point rule is any veteran
Mhm.
in the league is usually doesn't get close to that 35, right? Because you want to leave yourself always some room, right? So that 28 is like the sweet spot, right? Because then there's no fluke touchdown or anything that's going to send you out of the league. And so, like to me, I'm gonna bet that I'm gonna bet the 32. I don't even know what the maximum bet is. I always just bet 100. What's the max bet?
I
Penguin,
believe it's a certain percentage of what you have left you're allowed to bet.
There we go.
Because I had a game that
We submitted that
wasn't able
action.
to. Yeah,
400. 400
yeah.
on that. Oh, 5% of your bank you can bet. Okay. So
Okay. Let me find one here that I like too. Is
yeah,
that
you
what
tell
that was?
me.
What game you were talking about?
I did that was the UAB against Navy, just with that spread of 32.
Gotcha.
And I think this Georgia Oklahoma 12.5. I'm taking Georgia at 12.5. I think Georgia is playing well. He's my new war zone buddy.
Mhm.
And I think I'm
Do
I'm
you think
taking
he
him.
keeps it close?
No, I think he wins by more than 12.5. Georgia's going to win by more than
Oh,
12.5.
oh, okay. All right, right,
Yeah.
right, right, right.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. You know what? I'm gonna drop 100 on that one as well. I'm taking that also.
And then
Yeah.
same with Utah, Iowa State, right? It's a 34 point underdog. Iowa State is. Okay. I'm betting 500 on that one. Whoop, almost 5,000. Oh, wage limit exceeded. So I can't do 500. Let's do 400. There we go.
Talked me into it.
Obviously, just being unique. Same with, like, I mean, I could probably keep going because, like, D. Kennedy is a 34.5 point favorite against Illinois. And Coach Knowles, is that I find it hard to believe that D. Kennedy is going to win by 35, right?
So if he scores a touchdown, go up 34, and takes the knee on the extra point, would that be him just
Yeah. Yeah.
throwing
Would
a finger to
Homie
the
send,
bookmakers?
yeah, would Homie send the guys out to crack his knees?
I mean, mm,
I wonder who in the NDL is a part of that, like the enforcing, group for Homie on the sharp side. Like who goes out and collects money when people don't pay?
that's a great question, homie. You care to weigh in?
Like I'm a 31 point favorite on Jeff Daddy. I would take if I'm a betting man, I'm betting on Delaware to cover the 31. Homie says he's prepay only. Homie's like that gas station, that doesn't let people pay with it's you can't pay and go in, right? You got to prepay. Got to go out and give the cash or give them the debit card.
Mhm.
Wild says he's going to put a small wager on SMU 9,900 against Louisville.
Hmm. Interesting one.
Yeah, I bet Ice is definitely a part of that group, right? Um,
You want to find an enticing bet? Somehow LSU is a sizable favorite over A&M at the
yeah,
moment
to like
there. So
12
I'm
and a
just
half points,
saying,
right?
yeah, that I don't know where that math comes from, but just if you want to play the odds, you might want to look at the Aggies in that one.
Who do we got in
Could be a
the
good value. Now here's another interesting one, which I'm a little tempted by. Though history says it's a fool's bet, but the Tennessee and Texas. Now, Jiggy has just, I mean, I believe Vegas has had like no success versus him. But I mean, I don't know, seems like a lot still
what
at
is it?
the
What's the
49.
40? What is the point?
And the 17 and a half,
Homie
which I
must
guess
have
isn't a
it.
lot
Homie must
because you
have
could
it where
see
the
Texas.
spread is never more than 35 either. Because I went and looked, and none of the
Mhm.
games are more than 35.
It'd be wild if we had ones over 35. It would
Right?
be.
You just put all your money on that every week. Yeah, but someone would have
Yeah.
lost big last week. They'd have bet Kentucky, and that wouldn't have worked out well for
Would they have
them.
paid out on that? I don't know.
Well, imagine if you bet the over the 35, he'd have to pay out on it. Even the guy got booted, but he still. So like wouldn't that be a funny prop bet if you could bet on coaches to score more than 35, right? Like you just see all this movement on new coaches.
I
So
love it.
are there prop bets right now? Yeah, okay. So there are. I haven't even like I feel bad. I haven't really like looked at this. So this thing is like there's a lot in here. There's like prop bets. Um and so he must pick games to do the prop bets. Their game of the weeks. And I think he accidentally selected the wrong game of the week, but I picked it right on our pick 'em. He picked New Mexico and New Mexico State as the game one of the game of the week. So there's some prop bets in here.
Mhm.
Um man, I'm looking at this Clemson game right now. Um, interesting. These are awesome. So obviously conference futures, college football playoff futures, stuff like that, all kinds of betting going on. I wonder is there a way to check a leaderboard, homie? Like, can you check to see who has the most money right now? So obviously you guys can see the house. The house is homie is working this weekend to make overtime because the house has paid out $37,000. There's been $163,000 wagered this year.
Were we able to
935
cash in our winnings for Shroot Bucks?
Yeah. Yeah, homie did say at the end of the year he's just going to transfer all that money into Amazon bucks. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
So I'll need to be writing him a check, in other words.
Homie did say that all the Kentucky slips were voided out for that game. Okay, so it does show the biggest payouts right now. So the biggest payout so far has been Jordan on slip number 798. He picked the Marshall Thundering Herd to win. He bet 400 to win $4,000. Man, nice bet, Jordan. That's a big bet.
Wait a minute. Is he old enough? Is that way? Is this a legal bet? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that can stand. I mean, do we not have any age limits on this?
And then Vic bet the same money line on Marshall Thundering Herd. That was their upset the other day. He bet 383. Okay. So does it have the biggest loss? So Andy's got the biggest parlay right now. Holy cow, he parlayed 4 teams, won. The biggest losers right now, Wild's out there in the fans, Rain. So 500 is the biggest loser. There's 4 $500 bets that have lost. Hubbard twice, Rain, and then Wilds. And then a couple parlays. So that's cool. Obviously shows the most betted is Fired Up Chip has 255 slips, which is 3 times more than the next guy, Andy. And so Penguin, you're up there, 38 slips. That's in the top 5.
Hooray. I'm winning at something.
Everybody loves Georgia right now. 41 people have bet on Georgia.
He's definitely the darling to bet on right now.
Yeah, obviously Jordan, Coach Jordan over there has got 4,000 he's up. And that's big. My balance is 8,000, but I think I have some slips out there. Let's see. My action. Yeah, I got like $1,500 out there right now. So, well, there you have it. We've talked a little bit, not as cool as Hubbard's little telling you what games to bet. I'm just anything over 30. That's my take this week. Is anything that's 30 plus this week, as I'd bet hard against that. And the reason being is there's a big announcement of like, hey, don't be an idiot and score more than 35 and lose. And so I think people are gonna be just my goal this week is people are going to be a little conscious of that 35, and so you won't have anyone score more than 30. So anything more than 30, just bet heavy on
it. I like it. I like the logic.
And then Jeff's definitely
hopefully that was the only
spread.
one.
Yeah, Jeff's definitely covering the spread against Washington State this weekend. We play each other a lot, and they've all been very close games. So there's no way I'm beating them by more than 30.
Insider information.
Yep.
Nice.
Insider trader information.
Yep.
Ice
How very Pelosi of you.
Collusion.
Yes, Senator.
Yeah, I'm telling everyone to put their slips down for their house on our game. So.
All right. Okay, I'm doing it now.
Man, so we'll jump into the pick'em here. It's just me and you, so it'll go pretty quick here. Obviously it's always tough to pick slates of games earlier in the season because we have a small sample size, and then obviously we were hit hard with the games played after we picked our games. This week, there was another one played last night that involved one of the game of the weeks, and so some of these probably. I don't think any of the picks changed from any of the members in here. They did give me their picks, and so I'll just load those up here. But you can start. Can you see the first one that I have up? It's
small. It's so small on my screen, I can't see it.
Okay.
I got to get a bigger monitor. That's a me
So it's a
problem for the
Missouri
most part.
State game. It's a Missouri State UTS game.
Missouri State versus UTS.
Yep.
Well, this one I think is pretty simple. I know Missouri State, I believe, is 0-2 on the season at this point. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then UTSA is on conversely a team and a coach who has kind of, I think, figured out offense in a way that I definitely have not to this point. Granted, they've played Kennesaw State and Texas State, so not exactly, a crazy schedule, but still is beating those teams up. And I think if Pat were here, he'd say that he feels pretty good about his boys. And I think they keep marching here. He's got those road runners running, and odds are they win another game by a couple touchdowns here.
Yeah, so this one, obviously, this is one of the ones that got hit where the Bruised Bagel had played some games after we had talked about this. So, the Bruised Bagel obviously was a former BYU coach, played Pat. He's 2-1 against Pat since the game came back. And it was always that, like, I think he was Kansas too at one point when he beat Pat. Um, he may have
Sounds
been
right.
I can't remember, but he's beaten Pat 2 times, and then he lost to Pat. He lost to Pat when he's a mid major, and Pat was Utah. So I'd consider him probably pretty even coaches. The problem is like you stated, is that Pat's kind of got it figured out on the defensive side of the ball, which I think is the big difference. He also has the way
Mm,
better rated team. On the offensive side of the ball, rating wise, video game rating wise, Pat has an 80 overall team on offense. That is very good for a mid major. If
yeah, it
anybody,
is.
I know Rain's out there in the audience right now, and he said he went through all the lower level mid major teams. His 80 offense has got to be one of the top rated mid major teams in the video game on the offensive side of the ball. Now, defense, he's 72, which pushes that overall down to 76. But Missouri State's 72, 73, 72. And so there's a big difference there. I see why Pat's a 24 point, almost a 25 point favorite here. It's hard to pick against anybody on the game day show, and I've got to go Pat here. I do think the game's going to be a lot closer than people think. It's just going to be about when Bruce starts turning the ball over. If he can hold down on the turnovers, I think the game actually may come down to the fourth quarter.
It's a fair point. But still, in the end, I still feel good about saying that one's going to be 2 scores.
Yeah, and that's how it was picked across the board. Obviously, everybody picking a Cohart show host Pat on the game day. And you just pick a game, one of the other games of the week, and I'll just pull it up. You tell me what game.
All right. What do we got? San Diego State and New Mexico. Couple of teams off to a 2-0 start. I mean, shoot, what Outlaw's done at New Mexico, he's not a bum by any means, but he's a long time veteran. So, I mean, doesn't have a long list of championships or anything. So it's not like he's a guy who generally stands out in schedules. But he was won 2 close games, both won by 3 and by 2. So I mean, being able to pull out those close ones and win the fourth quarter is such an important thing in having season success. And we've already talked about Big Z and his season success so far with a big win at Duke and then outlost in Wyoming in one of the legends of beer, bourbon, and ball. And I I feel like this might be a special season for New Mexico and Outlaw, but special or not, it's not going to be 12-0. And this week is going to be one of those reasons why. I think San Diego State Aztecs, bit more firepower there. Big Z is a little more battle tested. I see them winning this game by 10 points.
Yeah, and this one's interesting because rating wise, they're almost identical, the two teams, right? And I've played
Mhm.
Big Z several times back when Washington State had the tie-in with the Mountain West, and so we'd play each other quite a bit. And then back when the game kind of first launched and Big Z was in the league, we were scrimmaging, and he plays in a dynasty tournament. So I've had a chance to play him a lot. Outlaw, same thing. Me and Outlaw play a lot for out of conference schedules, and they're both very similar coaches. They both love to run the ball. They like play action, and they like to just kind of play defense. And so it's going to be it's two of the similar offenses, similar defenses. Okay. I think the biggest difference in this game is going to be the fact that Big Z is going to be the better runner of the two. I think he's going to be able to run the ball, and he's going to be able to force Outlaw into passing the ball. Man, I think this will actually be a really big game. This is obviously a big game for mid majors in general, right? And I think we talked about it earlier. Obviously, I think San Diego State's kind of my like Cinderella story this year. And so I think that they win this game. And I think in the fourth quarter, they'll end up pulling away just because of the turnovers.
Yeah. Well, keeping on trucking here. Next, we'll jump out of the mid majors and some Power Four action. You got Alabama heading to what is that? Is that Manhattan where Kansas State plays out there?
In New
And
York. In New York.
yeah, New York, Kansas, and this is definitely an intriguing matchup on coaches alone because Big Red, who his legend only grew at the convention this season. I mean, unfortunately, we haven't seen him play any games yet this season. So we don't know yet exactly how he's going to vibe with these Wildcats. I feel like his ceiling isn't tremendously high with this team, even with the very tough schedule that he's got in front of him. But we already know what we're getting from Tuddy so far. He dispatched Illinois like they owed him child support, and he, smacked Kentucky hard enough to get them to, lose focus in their next game, and they're gone now. So, given that, I feel this game that maybe if I'd seen more from Kansas State, I could possibly pick this as an upset special, but I can't do it. I think Alabama and Tuddy, which just kind of, I'm shocked to see him there and not have stayed at Georgia, but I think that he's feeling that team and that defense especially is gonna kick the Wildcats down the road. So give me the Tide.
Yeah, I mean, this one's kind of tough for me. And the reason being is, man, when we were at the convention, I saw Big Red at 2 a.m. playing college football up in his bedroom, right? And so,
Mhm.
but for me, it's kind of like the roster is like going to be really hard to overcome here. With Alabama, obviously, I think the game's played. Yeah, like you said, it's played. The benefit is you don't have to go to Tuscaloosa, but I think it's going to be a close game. Man, it's really tough for me to pick against Big Red. But I think that it's going to be a game where Big Red turns the ball over a bunch, and Alabama just doesn't. And so I do have Alabama winning the game. But I mean, I hope Big Red wins just because I love Big Red. But I'm going with you, Alabama. I already started off horrible last week in the pick'ems. I think my first 3 games were all lost, and Outlaw was one of them. I picked against Outlaw, and he obviously wins in an upset.
Mhm. Yep. Well, moving right along here, we got speaking of teams that have been impressive so far this year. Texas Tech Red Raiders are staying at home this one and hosting Houston in and what may be one of the marquee matchups between two teams from Texas this season. And I'd say coming into this one at the start of the season, this is one I had circled because we know Coach Jared had a lot of great success last season, and Houston's a solid squad. You got a pretty good quarterback in Connor Wagman, but something that made this pick real easy for me is watching part of that Houston play the Virginia Tech Hokies and watch the Hokies run the ball at will and pass the ball super efficiently on them. And you know what Texas Tech does well in Marion? Run the ball and pass the ball efficiently. And that Texas Tech defense puts the Virginia Tech defense to shame ratings wise. So I don't know. It's a spot for redemption for Houston to turn their season around and show that last timeout was an aberration. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Red Raiders are going to flex a little muscle in this one and kick Houston while they're down. So give me the Red Raiders by a lot.
I'm with you here. I think that Cameron Dickey's going to have a huge game. He'll probably rush for 150 plus against Houston. I think this is where Marion's really going to separate himself from the rest of that conference. in a sense of like the national light seeing it, right? Is that anybody that doesn't know is obviously Marion's a great coach. He's a college football playoff member almost every year he plays. And if that previous game with Houston hadn't happened, I may think the game was going to be a little closer, right? But watching that, he
Mhm.
looks like he really struggled against that type of play style of the run and the play action, and I mean that's right up Marion's wheelhouse. He loves to be able to run and play action on the ball. And I mean, I watched him play against Old Miss, Texas, when I watched Marion play, and he does a great job of
Mhm.
getting his ball, like all of his big play skilled position players. He gets them the ball in unique ways. He's got dual halfback sets and stuff to get both running backs the ball, and he's able to get he, the Jacoby Williams. I think that's their wide receiver. He's able to find ways to get him the ball in space and stuff. And so I obviously I think Cameron Dickey's going to have a big game. I think this is going to not. I don't think this game's actually going to be that close. I don't know what the spread in here is. I'm going to go look real quick. Um, the spread's 29, which is huge, right? When you're talking about two good coaches, I would probably pick Houston to cover the spread though, 29. But I think this is probably a 3-score game. And again, it's because I don't think Coach Marion's going to remember I talked about that 35. Ain't no one want to get close to that. It could be a 21, 28 point game.
Yep. Well, moving along, we'll head out west to the Big Ten because that makes sense, right? And we got Oregon and USC heading do battle this week. Now, I want to preface all this with saying this is a game that looks exactly like one that might trip up Shell and his Ducks in seasons past. He's been prone to drop one that may be a head scratcher. And here, going on the road, USC's got a decent roster. They got a solid coach. They may be 0-1, but I mean, it's a 1 point loss to a very good coach and team in Missouri. But man, that Oregon speed and that Oregon defensive line, I mean, the the front four for Oregon and that wide receiver core, literally, they can play poorly and they're still going to beat most teams because those groups are just going to just make a play at some point that there's not a damn thing the other team can do about. And so, honestly, I think that might be the type of game we see here. I think KDOT and USC is going to give them hell and even have the lead in the second half. But those Oregon difference makers are going to step up at some point, tilt the field, and put this one away late. So give me the Ducks, and not their best performance, but they come back and secure this one with a dominant fourth quarter.
Yeah, so this is another one of those ones where we pick the game of the week because, like you talked about, there's always one game on Shell's schedule that's usually a conference game that he kind of has a hiccup and stuff. And USC's got some talent this year on the K dot returning. And then obviously, I think it was last night the score gets posted for the Missouri game, right? And the 1 point loss,
Mhm.
a nail biter of a game. But man, you hit a lot of points there for this game. Is that I don't know that I wouldn't pick Shell with that roster with the way the game plays right now as not a favorite to be in the CFP championship. He has he has the best front four in the game. Um, I just went to I'm looking at the preview page for their I'm looking at the preview page right now, and I'm going to bring this up just so you guys can see what I'm looking at. And so I'm looking at the positional advantage, okay? And I'm sure there's a calculation for this, right? It's probably pulling overalls and everything. Look at the positional advantage at offensive line versus defensive line. 86.3 plus to negative 5.2. I'm assuming that that's a big difference. And then same with defensive line versus offensive line. Like it says plus 41.6, but it's in the red. That can't be good. Um, and so, like you talked about, Penguin, is that I've watched Shell play. Shell, out of all the teams that are probably the top tier teams and coaches in the league, I feel like Shell probably blitzes the most out of them because he really enjoys his man to man. He loves cover one, and but he loves to bring blitz. And man, if you have four guys that can't be blocked, and now you're bringing in an extra five, you're probably going to have an untouched guy almost every time, right? Because one of those guys is going to
Yeah.
beat a non-double team every time. I think he's just going to be applying relentless pressure against KDOT and USC, and I think USC has a really hard time. You could tell in that first game. I mean, you look at the stats right here. Is in that first game, USC threw for 126 yards, right? He rushed for 139, but you're going to have to throw for more than 126. You go on to the other side of the map, right? And D Moore's thrown for almost 500 yards. Granted, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the whole game, but I think this game's ugly. I think this game is going to be one of those games that push that 30-point threshold. Um, and mainly it's just because of the defensive side of the ball, with man-to-man defense being the way it is and stuff. Obviously,
Mhm.
someone like Shell is going to really benefit from something like that. And so I see Oregon winning big here. This will probably be the most lopsided, and only because of I didn't watch last night's game, but seeing the results of last night's game, not taking anything against away from Drewski at Missouri, but just seeing how the offense and defense played out statistically, is that Shell is this is going to be probably the most lopsided game of the week.
Well, we wrap up with a ACC game this week. We've got the Clemson Tigers heading to play the California Golden Bears. And Cal is definitely one of those teams with I don't say a shockingly good start to the season, because these are both conference wins, both games with a lot of points scored over UCLA and Cuse. But I mean, definitely not someone I think you would have pegged, even though MGR has definitely gone on a run at times in seasons past to have some pretty good starts to seasons. Than a team that you'd be on the radar right now. But they've got a real chance to throw their hat into the ring as a legit contender, especially with what Miami's going to be in doubt of, maybe a team that could win the ACC this season. At the same time, though, Clemson, it's definitely a down year offensive skill wise for them, but that Clemson defense is still pretty darn ferocious. They've got some linebackers that are just a pure pain in the ass to match up and deal with. And in their limited time out there, they absolutely murdered a weaker Jacksonville State team, and they lost a tough game in the Cup. But man, just matchup wise, I feel it's a good game, but I gotta like the Tigers to take this one and assert themselves. As in a down year, I think they very well may prove themselves to be the class of the ACC once again.
Yeah, this was interesting. When I was looking at the matchup between the two teams, I knew Cal returned a bunch of players from last year, right? And I knew
Mhm.
they strengthened themselves a little bit in the portal. I didn't realize how good their offense was. Like when I went and looked at their team, very high rated offense in the video game. Like you talked about Clemson, obviously most of their weight's all in the defense, definitely in the box, their front four. This one, I think, is going to be a close game. Obviously, Coach MGR having a great season already, 2-0. Pirate, I think, just the 1-0. This shapes up a lot for that conference. Every year that we go into the season, we kind of say, like, who's going to be the front runners in the ACC? And every single season, it's been someone's played in the ACC championship game where no one pre-picked them preseason, right? Last year you had Wake that snuck in. Usually it's a 3-loss. I mean, the last couple seasons, I definitely recall it being a 3 or 4-loss team, right? Sneaking into the ACC championship. Obviously, the winner of this one's going to be the front runner to be that 1 seed, right, in the ACC championship. I do have Clemson winning this game. I wouldn't be surprised if MGR was able to pull something off here. But I just think with the defense, the way the game plays, I think that if you can play defense, I just think it's um, a really big, it's just kind of like that one up, right? Is that you get to utilize the defensive players. And someone mentioned the other day, I think it was like Gary said it in a chat, is that we're kind of back to the video game where if you throw the ball over the middle of the field and there's a defender anywhere near the area, he's going to probably pick off the ball, right? And so you're really limiting what coaches can do over the middle of the field. So you're kind of forced to throw the ball to the flat or up the sideline. Well, when you play a team with a good defensive front, it gets harder to throw the ball up the sideline. So then teams start shading underneath and start doing that. I played Coach MGR in the past, and I think I think he's going to limit the turnovers though. That could be the difference, right? I think he's going to keep the game close into the fourth quarter, and so it's going to be just like who makes that first turnover or who's going to turn over the ball. I just think Clemson is going to be able to get the ball to his halfback and play defense. This will be a close. I think this will probably be the closest game out of the bunch, besides maybe potentially the San Diego State game, just because I think Coach Outlaw and Big Z, they kind of play similar and stuff, and so I think you could see that one being close. But man, I'm excited to watch this. I think MGR's got some big things planned out there in Cal. Would not be surprised if you saw these same two teams in the championship game again.
Could happen. It's the ACC, and we know
Yep.
that means madness. You've always got like what Cuse in the mix last year. No one saw that coming. You've had what a BC at the end of the season with 4 or 5 losses right there in the edge. So I mean, you never know.
Yeah, and I don't know who I'm trying to pull it up right now, and it gave me that big air, but I'm looking at I want to pull up Cal's schedule for the rest of the year. So Clemson's schedule, he still has Miami. He plays Miami in the
Mhm.
next block. He does North Carolina, California this one, then he does Miami, and then he plays like Virginia Tech, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Duke, South Carolina. Um, who does Cal? Let me check Cal's schedule here.
In conference, he avoids. He has no Miami, no
Yeah,
Florida
there you go.
State, but he does go to SMU, and he does have Virginia Tech left as well. So I mean, those are both tough. Of course, Pitt at the end of the year. I think Glizzy, he's not had the best start, but I believe he'll have that team much better than it is now. Got a trip to the House of Horrors that is Carter Finley and NC State and Holme there. Even
Yeah.
if they don't have the best season, we know he is definitely capable of ruining seasons as well. And who knows how much that team grows between now and then. And not to mention, he's got to deal with games at Minnesota and versus Oregon this season as well. So he's got, some brutal tests out of conference also.
You do have Phony. Phony did so. All of our picks were the same this week, except for this game. Phony picked Cal to win. So Phony is the Lone Ranger here on the MGR train, picking Cal to win and upset Clemson based upon the rankings, and would be an upset. Yeah, I'm with you though. That obviously that Cal's schedule is very favorable. He does get Oregon at home this year. I think that they play quite a few times. But he does get Oregon at home. So that'll be an interesting game. Maybe that's the trip up game, right?
Could be.
Big
It really could be.
big game. Yeah, you bring up Coach Glizzy, and obviously we talked about that Marshall slip earlier that people were winning on that upset. That was the upset. Marshall beat Coach Glizzy, and I think Marshall was the
Mhm.
underdog there. Obviously, anyone that doesn't know, Coach Glizzy represented the CFP as James Madison, right? Was it James? It was James
Mhm.
Madison, yeah, out of the Sun Belt.
Yep.
Anybody also that doesn't know some NDL history is the Sun Belt, since we've came back, has put out more CFP members than any other mid-major program. Heck, they may have put out more. That wouldn't be true. I think the ACC has made it every year, right? It's been close though. The ACC's been really
Mhm.
close to not making it. But
Few
I
more
bet,
year, few seasons they didn't deserve it.
yes, I bet
You
Coach
could argue.
Razorback would definitely state that that the Sun Belt could probably compete against the ACC. It'll be really interesting. I bet there's a way Homie could go up and pin up the conference standings, like have a where you could actually go to a page and it would show the conference matchups against each other, so that we could get a good idea of what that looks like with conferences playing each other instead of having to do it ourselves. But man, I appreciate you guys joining us early Saturday morning. We'll be back next Saturday morning, 9 o'clock Eastern time next weekend. We will have Pat back and Phony back. And then I'm sure Hubbard will be back as well. So we'll have a full slate of NDL members on the show. Man, I'm looking forward to Block 2 opening up. Penguin, do you have any insight as to when your 2 games are, or have you even thought about that at all?
I'm not allowing myself to think about that probably till tomorrow. All respect to my opponents if you posted something there. I'm going to give myself a day off of thinking about those two games. Or is it one game? I don't know. It's 2 games, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe there'll be some action Sunday, but we'll see.
Yeah, I know. I haven't even checked in to see. I still have to play Washington. He's kind of, I think he coaches a sport, and so he's kind of been busy during the week, and then, um, and so I think we're
That's gonna be a
planning
tough
on.
matchup. That's a good roster.
Yeah, I think we're planning on playing Sunday. I think, and obviously it's one of my rivals, and it's definitely the rating wise, it's definitely the hardest game on my whole schedule. They're just so much faster and bigger and stronger than us. So I just have to hope that I can force them into some turnovers. I think last year when I played, it was a different coach, but I think they ran for like 500 yards against me. Washington did, and they returned like all the same players from last year.
That's a game that should be played in the snow, if you ask me. I don't know how y'all will do that, but I think
I
that's the
might
only.
do
It's
that.
only right.
Yeah,
Yep.
the snow apple cup's probably one of my favorite memories. Yeah, and so
I'm so sad that that game isn't a staple at the end of the season every year again. I
yeah, I
have
can't
thoroughly enjoyed
stand
that.
that it's week one. I can't stand that it's
Yeah.
week one. It's so dumb.
I have loved as a football fan watching some of those snow games in the past of you
Yeah.
got two teams where it may not necessarily matter a lot on the national stage, but it's definitely been a game of great examples of a rivalry showing up in that whole, as they say, throw the records out the window type of deal.
Yep. Yeah, it's way too early in the season to have a rival game.
Yeah.
So there's a new article posted up on the online dynasty website. I was just went back to the home page just now from the standings page, and I saw an article, but it said it was posted by the online dynasty, and so I don't know if this is one of like I don't think I don't think it's a full AI, and I don't think that it was Holmy because Holmy obviously has an L in it, Homie, and his name's spelled wrong on here. It says Homie, like homie. And so I don't think that it is. I'll pull this up so everybody can see it here. Um, I don't think that it is him that wrote it. So someone may have written it and sent it to him. One of those anonymous ones, right? And so this is not a ranking, it says. It's not saying one user is better than the other. It's simply recognizing the users for another part. They have a reputation. So it goes through and talks about all these different things, right? Like it's not about the jersey. So you can read each one. I'll give you guys the opportunity to go online and read the article, but it kind of gives you the why they've ranked these people. So it's not just, they didn't just take wins and losses only. Okay. And so, but these are some of their top users that they put on here is Shell, and it says it's not in order. CJG, Jiggy, VT, Vegas, RB, Rain, MC, Big Mike, and obviously the list goes down, right? Wild, Steam, Homie, Pat, Mort. Who out of so I would eliminate some people off of this list if you're talking about users that have like there's loyalty, there's mental toughness, is I'm going to eliminate some people off there, okay? Because some of these coaches have had a chance to take their favorite teams and didn't take them, right? So the loyalty thing gets thrown out, right? But then also, this has kind of like been a hot topic in the NDL prior is that coaches that quit scrimmages, right? So like if I take the time to get on there and I play Penguin and I go into the game. Now, again, I'm only speaking as Tim. I'm not speaking on behalf of the league or anything. I don't have that type of power. Is that me and Penguin's understanding of that game when we schedule a scrim against each other is that we are going to abide and play by all NDL rules. We are going to play
Sir.
by all NDL rules and we're going to abide by them all. And we're bound to them knowing that there potentially should be consequences if I do anything wrong during that game. I know it's only a scrimmage. Okay. And
Mhm.
part of the reason is because both Penguin and I are partly in the NDL because that's the type of community and the type of understanding of a game we want. We don't want a lobby east game that is completely uncontrolled and it like right. And so that's the game we want. And now if we want to deviate from any of that, Penguin and I are going to communicate over Discord and we're going to be like, "Hey, Penguin, I'm going to do this. I know we aren't supposed to do this, but I'm trying things out." Or, "Hey, Penguin, you're beating me by 35. Hey, just keep running your offense. Don't worry about the score because I know you're working on things and I'm trying to work on things on defense to see what works and doesn't work." Right? So we've communicated why we're going to disrespect or disregard.
I've
Really, is
played a
probably
few
better word.
scrimmages before with guys saying, you know what, neither of us punt. I just want to maximize the
Yep.
offensive plays. We're going for it on all downs. You know, I played a few like that.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
communication part's there. Yeah. And so I see a couple
Mhm.
people on this list that do quit scrimmage games and they don't think of problems with that. So, I mean, if I was to say, hey, some of these guys probably need to go, those would be the guys, right? Guys that don't communicate that they're going to quit. They just shut the game down and quit. And is it the end of the world? No, it's just a scrimmage. But at the same time, is that you're not valuing your opponent's time, right? Penguins already
Mhm.
talked about. He's got a lot of things on his plate right now. He's business. He's got animals at the house. He's got a little bit of like a farm, and so for him to be able to say, "Hey, I have an hour right now, and I want to get one game in scrimmage, and then you quit at halftime. I can't start another game. I have about 30
Mhm.
minutes, and now so you've kind of wasted my 1 hour, right? And then you've ruined my experience because you just quit." And so that's my spiel with the scrimmages. If anybody, most of the people in the chat and stuff probably run scrimmages all the same way. Um, now, but I mean, who would be Penguin if you had to pick just the best user in the league? If you were utilizing, I'm guessing some of these things like top user, loyalty, mental toughness, can you win ugly in close games, play calls, football IQ, adaptability, do more with less? So maybe someone that could handle a lesser team. Um, who would be your top user?
I'm adding all of this in. Jeez. Um, I mean, obviously, if you're throwing in stuff and they're like doing more with less, you gotta be thinking about Chip at some level in there for sure, because the things he's been able to do with a frankly a lesser squad. For that, I mean, there are a lot of good guys, but I don't know how I would rank that. I mean, you've got plenty of guys with trophies, but that a lot of those guys with trophies, haven't always faced adversity. Now, I will say it's no secret I'm not a member of the Jiggy fan club, but I mean the man won some titles with Kansas. So, I
And
mean,
that's always stirred up
that's
conversation,
yeah.
right? Everyone's like, well, he had the
Mhm.
best quarterback and running back in the game. You
He
don't need with
did,
Kansas,
but he
but
also had a shitty linebacker room,
yeah,
mediocre
right.
front seven.
Yeah.
I mean, and a wide receiver core that no one would give a second look at. So he still maximized what he had there. So I don't know. I'd have to probably sit down and nerd out into the numbers and how I would technically rank coaches based off that. Because I mean, some of the best guys aren't always at best teams. So I mean, yeah. And I mean, guys like I mean, we've mentioned him already before. A guy like Sammy is going to work his way into such a list because he really maximizes what he's got. He takes advantage of. He's a pleasure to play. Another dude who I've got to think of because they really get involved in the aspect of trying to play a specific style or type of team. Coach Wilds is someone who really I'd think of. So,
Yeah,
but yeah.
yeah, that's the thing is I guess you complicate it if
Mhm.
they said, "Hey, who's the best user?" or just who's the best user in the league? If you just said it like that, I bet a
Mhm.
majority of the people are going to rank Jiggy, D Kennedy,
Yeah, trophies
Shell.
obviously are
Yeah,
gonna be
you
right at the
go
top
back and
of why
look
you're
at the trophies, right?
using it. Yeah.
MC.
Mhm.
But then when you break it down and you're saying, "Hey, I'm looking for just more than that. I'm looking for how how the coach is overall, is the coach likable? Is the coach fun to play against? Is the coach using football IQ when he's picking stuff, or is he using
Yep.
video game IQ? Because there definitely is a giant difference between the two, between football IQ and just video game IQ. Um,
Yeah. I mean, let's be blunt. There are people who I'm going to put if I were making a top 10 list right now, who I would acknowledge, yes, are one of the best in the game that I will not intentionally schedule because I don't enjoy the game. Plain and simple. And there are others who I will schedule who I'm probably going to lose 9 out of 10 times, but I enjoy the competition against them.
yeah, I mean this is a good talking point. I mean, you could probably have a whole show on just kind of people
Mhm.
breaking down who they would put on their pedestal of coaches, for all different reasons, right? And I think that every single person would have basically their own experience with the coaches, right? When we have 138 coaches in the league and we have a history of, I mean, homie, you'd have a better count. We've probably had over 1,000 coaches in the NDL since 2004. I
Mhm.
mean, it may not be that high, but it's probably pretty close because you have guys that come in for a couple weeks and just don't cut it, for whatever reason,
Yeah.
um, and so everybody's going to have their own experience of coaches, right? Because you have guys that have played the same guys, they have 50 games in the NDL against each other, right? So you're going to probably put that guy pretty
Mhm.
highly. You like I'll use a guy, um, um, so certain guys in the league like Buckeye, right? He's been around, he's been admin and stuff like that. You don't see him very active in the chat, but man, when you play him, he's very active in a DM with you throughout the game and stuff. And he'd obviously be up there for me because I really enjoy playing him because he when he talks to you during the game, he'll ask you about your family, your kids, and he'll remember that a year later when you play again. Like he'll remember everything that you talked about. And so I put a lot of value for that because obviously anybody that knows me is that, um, my favorite part about the league is obviously just the community aspect, obviously developing friendships in and out of, the game itself. I've had a chance to hang out with Penguin on several occasions, and we don't live anywhere near each other. Um, and I could say that about a lot of people in the league, just developing that friendship outside of the video game itself. And so I bet a lot of guys would put those guys higher, right, as opposed to someone, that obviously we talk about it when you do out of conference scheduling, Penguin friends usually, or likable people will fill up faster than non-likable people, right? And or
I
maybe
think
not
that's true for
likable,
most. Yeah.
not maybe not likable,
Well.
but people that just haven't developed those connections with other members in the league, right?
Mhm.
I mean, you'll see guys that are full before out of conference schedule even opens. They're completely
Yeah.
full. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know who I would put at the very top. If you took winning as part of it too, right? Like, hey, like, are they a good coach? Like, are they winning?
Mhm.
Man, I played Rain. I don't know that I've ever played Rain in the NDL. I've played Rain in dynasty games, like in dynasty leagues together, and
Yeah.
he's we he's probably won 2/3 of the games that we played. Um, super respectful though, and so he would probably be up there. Vegas, I enjoy playing Vegas. I mean, he'll share any of the knowledge with you that he has about the video game. Like he doesn't hide it. He's the same guy that went into chats with everybody and helped them with depth charts, played, and he'd share any playbook with you. And so, obviously, Chase and VT Gun, right? I mean, if I put a guy on a
Yeah.
pedestal for
Fantastic example. Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, he would definitely be up there in the top 10, right? Wonderful guy to visit with, talk to, and by far one of the better users ever if you took a whole history of the NDL, right? He used to play
If
safety and corner all the time. And I'm just kind of running
Yep.
down
If
this
I if I'm
list.
I'm say there, if I'm starting a list of people who've been good, but are also, when I think of them, it's only positive in-game interactions, and I mean, words I think of are just integrity and nice guys. That list is going to start with VT and Sammy. Not that other guys won't make the list, but those two are going to be right at the top of any list I'm making about that. So if you haven't played those guys, both good users, I couldn't recommend, if you want a better example of a competitive game versus someone who plays, who the way they play embodies what we think of when is what is the NDL.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great talking point. I'm sure if we sent out a Google, the Google form, like
Mhm.
like the little survey thing, and you asked
Well, people.
who people, I bet you would get a lot of different responses. Kind of like our polls, right? We talk about the polls and guys vote friends and guys vote guys that they enjoy playing and stuff like that. I mean, heck, that's why we all do this, is so that we can enjoy the game we play, and everybody does it for different reasons, right? Like talked about,
Mhm.
hey, when I schedule my out of conference schedule, I want to play good coaches. I want to play coaches that are going to challenge me. Other guys like me, I enjoy playing guys that I've played before and that I know are around the same level as me, because that's how I'll enjoy the game, right? And so,
I'm gonna
in a
say
lot,
that when I'm no longer at LSU, that will probably transition, because if I'm at Kennesaw State, I'm not gonna be like, "Ooh, I want to play Ohio State this season." No, I'm not gonna be thinking that, you know.
yeah, and I
And so it's
love
definitely,
playing. I love
yeah.
playing games with mics. I tell that to everybody, even conference games. And I know some guys don't like it because it's a distraction, but for me, I enjoy talking to people and visiting, because it does take away from the win loss. And I'll tell you, it's a
Mhm.
lot harder to be upset about anything that's going on during the game if you guys are visiting over the mic. Um,
That's true.
and so that's my preference. I enjoy talking on the mic when I'm playing, as opposed to just being silent. So, but
I'm not silent when I'm playing. It's just not things that I generally want recorded or I have music on. So there's that.
that's pretty funny. Well, man, we appreciate it. We're 15 minutes after the hour here, so we ran a little late today, but thought it would be fun to talk about that article that I saw pop up. And again, there's no
It would
knock
be
on
a
any
cool
coach.
it would be a cool poll to do with an understanding of an intent of a positive intentional slant on it, that it's not about bringing anyone down, because
Yep.
we've all got people we don't like, but if a way to say, hey, these guys are awesome, I think that could be a really cool thing.
Yeah, because
Because who wouldn't want to be, say, you're one of the top 10 guys that other people think the world of? That'd be a
yep.
nice feather in your cap.
Yeah, and I bet if you polled all 138 coaches in the league and you said, hey, just put your top 5 favorite coaches that you think are good or that you enjoy playing or that you have good interactions with, I think you'd see a
Mhm.
mixed bag of guys that you don't, names you may not normally see on a day-to-day basis, and stuff that gets put out. Because the league is really full of a bunch of wonderful people, even if we don't get along with all of them. So,
Yeah, I think that's a
man,
great idea.
yeah, it's been real, homie. Thanks for everything you do for the website, the league. He's been online right now fixing some things, and as we're going through the show, and he's adding some things in. As you can see now, anytime a media show pops up, it'll be the first thing you see on the homepage of the website, which is awesome. And obviously, tune in. We got all kinds of shows. We got what the Outliers is usually Wednesday, Thursday night. That's going to be anything mid-major in the NDL. Talk about all the G6 schools, teams. They do their own pick'ems, kind of, and then that's with Vic and Doc, and they usually bring on a coach. Last week was Chip. That'll be over on YouTube and also our Spotify. Chip was on the show with them. That was a wonderful show. I watched that on Friday afternoon. I do believe I watched a little bit of it live. And then we also have the podcast that's with RB and Matt, NTX. They do a show together, just kind of talk about everything, hot topics. And then also Matt does another show kind of like around the horn with coaches from the media. And they kind of talk about different topics, how to buy or sell. And then obviously, yeah, did I miss any of them, Penguin? I don't want to like miss any of our media shows that we do. I don't think I
But
missed
I
any
mean,
of
you
them.
covered at least the ones that are
Yeah.
consistent.
Oh yeah, well now we have our new AI. Obviously, Homie throws out a couple on like Tuesday, Wednesdays. They're just AI. I think it's
Hmm.
like a guy
Yep.
and a girl do a show together for the
Yeah.
NDL. I enjoy it because they butcher all the names every time, and the names are different every time, but it's the same voices, so I think it's super funny.
Yeah.
But man, tons of
It is.
content. If you ever want to be a part of the media team, just reach out to me. I can get you. I can get you whatever you need. If you have any ideas on things you want to do or anything, or you want to help as well, let us know, and I appreciate it. Man, Penguin, take care. Have a great weekend.
Too, man.